You, you. Check, 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 check. All right, let's get it. Check this out. It's Pyrex Nitty, man. Y'all know what it is. No Cut Podcast and all that. You know what I mean? Check it out, man. I just wanted to bring some information to y'all, you know what I mean, that I came across in one of the stories that I actually knew, but didn't know that these brothers was behind it. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to share this information with y'all because it's definitely vital. Y'all definitely need to hear it. Y'all need to see it. This shit is real. You know what I mean? So I ran across these two guys named Jason and Josh from the Innocence Project. I almost said the Innocence Podcast. They do got a podcast. Yeah, let's get to it, man. The first guy, Jason, he tells a story about what put him on this journey with the Innocence Project. You know what I mean? And it was a kid in New York, like a first time cocaine possession. You know what I mean? Like his first charge. This joint ain't nothing violent. You know what I mean? They gave home 15 to life. Before we get to these 5 stories, man, this is just the first one that they talked about. And check it out.
I was on my way to play tennis. I used to play tennis. And I wanted a newspaper to read in the taxi ride. And usually I would buy the Times, but it was sold out. So I happened to pick up the Post. And there was a story, Ferraro bid for Cocaine Kid, right? So the story, of course I read this. I was fascinated by, drugs and stuff. And the story was about a kid named Stephen Lennon who had been sentenced to 15 years to life for a nonviolent first offense cocaine possession charge in New York State. And just in case people think that might be misstating that was a nonviolent first offense cocaine possession charge in New York State.
15 to life?
15 to life, right. So
what year was this?
This was 92 or 3.
Jesus
Christ.
Well,
no, he was sentenced in the 80s. So he had been in for 8 years already. And the reason it was in the newspaper was because his mother, Shirley Lennon was her name, had been trying to get clemency from Governor Mario Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo's father, of course. And for you New Yorkers out there, remember that. And she had gotten letters from the sentencing judge, from the warden, and even Geraldine Ferraro had written a letter on behalf of this kid, who had a good record in prison and everything else. And it had been turned down. So that's why it made the newspaper. And I read this, and my whole sense of fairness and equity and everything just got thrown completely out of whack. I was like, I don't understand. Like, I kept rereading it and going, this doesn't make any sense. Nonviolent first offense, like that could be anybody, right? Wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. And I decided I wanted to do something about it. So I only knew one criminal defense lawyer back in those days, and there was a guy named Bob Collina. He represented Stone Temple Pilots and Skid Row, who both were artists that I had signed. And so I had him on speed dial because, they were getting arrested a lot in those days, and like weekly. So Bob agreed to take the case pro bono, and long story short, even though he said it was hopeless, 6 months later we ended up in a courtroom in Malone, New York. And I sat there holding Mrs. Lennon's hand, the woman I originally spoke to, Shirley Lennon, who was in the story. Her husband Stan was on the other side of her. And they brought the kid in shackles, like he was Manson or something, right? Leg irons. I was like, this is all new to me. Like, I'm just like, what the hell? And skinny guy with glasses, whatever. And the judge looked like Ted Forsyth. I thought, we're screwed, right? There's no way this guy's he's an old guy with white hair. And the arguments went back and forth. I knew nothing about what was going on. And finally the judge says, blah, 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 whatever he said. And he goes, the motion is granted. And he bangs the gavel down. And Bob comes running over. I go, Bob, what just happened? He goes, we won. I go, we won? Get the fuck out of here. We won? And he's like, we won. I was like, holy shit, that's incredible. And it was the best feeling I'd ever had. And they sent the kid home. He had served 9 years, but he had 6 to go before his parole, his first eligible parole date. And I was hooked, So I did a little research just to bring it to a close. I found out about an organization called Families Against Mandatory Minimums, FAMM.org, which had just started, and I joined their board. And then soon after that, I found out about the work of the Innocence Project, and I marched in and just offered my services for whatever they needed, and that's how it started.
It's crazy, man. Like, how many rich white kids do coke, get caught with coke, and get a slap on the wrist because prison would be too hard on them, too harsh. It's thousands of judges across America that have said this, that have given these privileged white kids a way out, because that way of going in totally do you bad. You know what I mean? And it's proven. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just saying this to say this. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I got facts to back it up. But I mean, Google's your friend, right? You could Google it. It's there for you. You know what I'm saying? But what I will say is, remember Brock Turner? Rich white college kid raped an unconscious girl. Remember when the judge said something about a jail sentence would be too severe on his life or something like that, and he don't see him as a danger to society or something? Like, he don't see him doing that to somebody else, like to rape an unconscious girl. For anybody on the outside looking in and saying, I don't believe that he's a danger to anybody else, I can't even say that they're nuts or something is wrong with him. He's just staying on code with his people. His people don't need to be slaves in prison. Only us, right? What's worse is, even Brock Turner's father had no remorse for the girl that he did that to. Like, he said something crazy like, "Oh, I don't want to see my son get 20 years in prison for 20 minutes of action." 20 minutes of action? You call rape action? Every little college boy is looking to get some action. Every little college boy is not thinking rape. They stay on code, man. They stay on code. But I just want y'all to see. I want y'all to hear. I want y'all to get it. Now, this next joint, Josh speaks on this story that y'all really need to hear. Like, I really, really need y'all. Tune everything else out right now. I need y'all to hear this. Follow me on this one. This shit is so foul, but so common. People don't even believe that police, prosecutors, DAs like Kamala Harris, judges would even do this to people. And if you need to hear it from, okay. Because we've been lying all these years, right? We ain't been telling the truth. We all guilty, right? Okay. Exhibit A.
You know, John Restivo was convicted of raping and murdering someone with two of his friends, two people that worked for him. He is framed by a cop. They take a hair from the victim and they plant it in his moving truck.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And the way that they found out that it was planted is that when your hair, you're going to love this, right? When the hair is attached to the human head, when you die, there's a physiological phenomenon that happens called post-mortem root banding, where a band goes around the root of your hair, okay? And it happens after you've been dead the minimum 4 hours. Prosecution's theory is that he picks up this girl, 16-year-old girl, walking home from the roller skating rink with his two buddies, throws her in a van, they rape her, kill her, and dump her near a cemetery, and it all happens in 45 minutes. The way that they finally find out that he was framed is it's a moving truck. They search his moving truck, and they find hundreds of hairs because we all shed hair. They find one hair from the victim, and it's pristine. It's the only pristine hair in the truck. No kinks on it, no dirt, no debris, and there's a post-mortem root band around it.
Oh, God.
Which means they had to have taken it from the autopsy.
After 4 hours.
After 4 hours. And we ended up finding out that the cop had access to the envelopes where the autopsy was. In any event, John Restivo, back to the DNA, the perpetrator ejaculated, and they had a lot of semen, a lot of biological material, DNA. He fought for years to get access to the DNA. Finally gets access to it. They test the DNA, and he's excluded and his 2 co-defendants are excluded, all right? What the prosecutor does is they say, okay, well, there must have been a 4th perpetrator.
Oh,
So they
Jesus
start
Christ.
testing, and this is a process that took years. They start 5 years. They start testing every single known male associate of John Restivo, Dennis Halstead, and John Kogut, and they can't. And it's only after that he gets out. He spent 18 years for a rape and murder he didn't commit. He's, I love him. He's like a brother to me now, but he's destroyed. You don't come back from
What
this.
happens to someone like that? Do they have any recourse? Is there anything that they can do?
There's a happy ending in that regard in John's story. I was one of the lawyers that represented him in his civil rights trial. He was awarded $18 million, $1 million for every year that he was incarcerated. And, to show you what the lasting psychological damage. So we got to go to a civil jury for civil rights violations against Nassau County, which indemnified this cop that framed him. And he got some closure that way, to the extent that you can get any closure. And we were outside waiting for the verdict, outside of the courthouse. And he's smoking a cigarette. And he put out the cigarette and he took a plastic bag out of his pocket, grabbed the butt and put it in the plastic bag and sealed it and put it in his pocket. I said, John, what the fuck are you doing? He said, you think I'm going to let someone take my DNA and frame me again?
So what happened to the detective that set homie up? Nothing. Heard he got a promotion and shit, but nothing. Karma did do her thing, though. I heard that punk ass pig passed away from cancer. No, I don't want to say passed away. I heard that punk ass pig died from cancer. An excruciating death, too, from what I heard. Karma, you did your thing, baby. I salute you. Always on time. And with you, anytime is on time. I ain't mad at you, baby. One last story. One last one. I just want to share this one last story with y'all. Well, they gonna share it. You know what I mean? And we could wrap it up after this.
Crime lab sees that the DNA doesn't match the defendant.
You're talking about Anthony Apanovich, and I'm glad you brought this up.
So
right?
where the crime, you can tell them the story in a second, but the crime lab, not the prosecutors, a crime lab technician says, you know what, this is wrong. This DNA doesn't match the defendant, and I'm sending it to the defense counsel. And what happens is that he gets put back. First, he gets out because they realize they have the wrong guy, but he gets put back on death row because he obtained the evidence illegally.
Anthony Apanovich, this story is just, even by my standards, absolutely fucking mind-blowing, right? Anthony Apanovich was wrongfully convicted in Ohio and sentenced to death. He's on death row in Ohio. I think it was for 35 years when what happened, right? The state finally tested the DNA that they said didn't exist. So the test came back and showed that he did not commit this crime. So they withheld that from the defense. So there he is on death row. The state knows he's innocent. They may have known all along. I don't know. But somebody, I think it was a crime lab technician, whoever it was, some whistleblower or whatever you want to call it, sent that evidence to the defense. It's not the first time we've heard that kind of story. He gets out. He's out for 17 months. He's a grandfather. The guy's terrific. Just like if you talk to him, you'd fall in love with him. You want to have him on the damn show. And he's sitting on the lawn with his grandchildren one day, and a SWAT team shows up and arrests him again. The state appealed his reversal, saying that only he was allowed to request his DNA. It's something in Ohio law, right? The person who's wrongfully or who's appealing their conviction has to request the DNA themselves. So they said that since they requested the DNA, he couldn't use it in his appeal, which technically was correct. And so the they're saying you should have requested the DNA that we told you doesn't exist. And since you didn't, we're taking it to the higher court, and the higher court was left with no choice but to follow. I mean, I guess they had no choice. They followed the letter of the law and sent him right back to death row, which is where he is right now
Jesus
as we're sitting here.
This is America. The system ain't broke. It's working exactly the way it was designed to work. So when they say prison reform, they pissing on you and telling you it's raining. Listen, man. This system and the people that's working in this system need to be destroyed. That's the only thing that's adequate for the lives and families they destroy. It's only right. I want to leave y'all with this. Anybody can get wrapped up, arrested, aka kidnapped, charged, and put in front of a judge and a jury for something that they didn't do. That's the reality of our community, our lives. You know what I mean? That's why I'm calling this little clip Windows. Me and 2-3 other different people could be looking out the same window and see America totally different. When you go in front of a jury, most of them and most people in general, period, feel that if you in court for whatever, you had to do something because you're here. Therefore, like, you kind of already guilty, because why would the police just grab you? Why would the police lie? Why would the prosecutor be trying to bury you? Why? They don't do that to just any random person. They don't just grab innocent people and charge them and accuse them of things. They don't do that. I think history has proven, social media has proven, the information era has proven that that's a lie. And they will use that to make you guilty before you ever could be found guilty. The fact that you even arrested and charged for it means you guilty. You had to do something. Why would they arrest you and charge you? The problem is, a prosecutor's job is to seek justice, not convictions. Your job is not to seek convictions. Your job is to seek the truth. But when they're only being rewarded for convictions, it's not an even playing field. It's not fair. They are only going to aim for convictions. That's what they're rewarded for. Actually, when somebody's found innocent and you see that the police done fucked up or done did some bullshit, that prosecutor is frowned upon. That prosecutor can't go to be a district attorney, and then a governor, and then a senator, and then a fucking vice president. You get me? Their main focus is the wins, because their wins are convictions, and that's wrong. Their wins shouldn't just be convictions. Their job is to seek justice. If you snatch up an innocent person off the streets, justice should be able to show and prove that this is an innocent man or woman. That's it. Justice in their eyes are convictions or plea agreements. People taking pleas because they don't have money to fight in court. I could go on about this all night, and we ain't gonna do that. But y'all know what time I'll be on. I just want to give y'all something serious, because that's the type of time I'm gonna be on. You know what I'm saying? We gonna joke, we gonna talk shit, We gonna talk music. We gonna talk bitches, niggas. We gonna do all the ignorant shit. We gonna do all that. But at the same time, we gonna talk about what the fuck is going on. You hear me? This shit is no cut. This that thing. Holla at me, man. Y'all know what's up. Like the motherfucking video. Hit subscribe. We just starting out. We gonna get to it. You hear me?